Our main speaker here today is Padraig McCann. I think most people know him as an ex-prisoner and a former chair of the National Graves in Belfast, and a lifelong Republican. People have met him on different guises, I imagine, over the years. So a bit of behind you, Padraig, let it help.
Éirígí Commemoration hat. It's an honour and a privilege for me to speak at the first Éirígí Easter Parade here in Milltown Cemetery. On behalf of Éirígí, we send solidarity greetings to all the supporters and activists at home and abroad. Since 1926, Republicans have attended similar parades throughout the country, even during very difficult periods when we have been attacked and vilified by our enemies, both foreign and domestic. On this, the 94th anniversary of the Easter Rising, we especially remember our patriot dead and extend solidarity greetings to their families. On Easter Monday 1916, thousands of Irish men and women took on the might of the British Empire by taking part in an armed rebellion. Padraig McParish read on the steps of the GPO the proclamation, which is as relevant to us today as it was 94 years ago. During Easter week, these brave men and women fought throughout Dublin, and many of them sacrificed their lives for national freedom and sovereignty. In the 94 years since the Rising, there have been 5 occasions when Republicans have taken up arms against the British and counter-revolutionaries. Unfortunately, each time it has ended in defeat, only to be reignited by the next generation. In this cemetery here, there are numerous graves of those who fought for independence, from young Irelanders of the 1840s to women like Winifred Kearney, who was in the GPO, those who fought in the Tan War and the counter-revolution, the 1940s, 1950s, right through to those who fought and died in the most recent phase of the struggle. None of us can say for certain where these men and women would be today, but as Republicans, they would definitely not accept a partitionist state, nor be participants in it. We are standing at a memorial here to a man who was in the British Army at the time of the Fenian Rising of 1867, and was he himself prepared to resist the British oppression. Along with his brother and others, he was imprisoned in Belfast jail, and due to the treatment he endured in that very prison, he died. Men like William Harbison are the true bearers of the Republican ideal. One of the 6 men buried in this very plot is Joe McKelvey, who was executed by the Free Staters on the 8th of December 1922. Joe had been a volunteer in the IRA in Belfast, and he quickly rose through the ranks. By the time a truce had been called in July 1921, he was active in Dublin, and with many others he was appalled at the terms of the truce and the treaty. This led to the Civil War, in which the counter-revolutionaries and the stake in the country merchants were victorious. When the counter-revolutionaries, led by Mulcahy and Collins, decided to take out all opposition, they set the scene that was continued for generations of Irish men and women. Their cohorts continued to oppress Republicans to the point that many either walked away or kept their heads down. This position also encouraged the Unionists in the newly formed Northern State when they brought in repressive laws which were the envy of despots throughout the world. Is it any wonder so many were afraid to raise their heads? Of course, in every generation there were those who aspired to the ideals of the proclamation, and for us standing here today, we should understand and be guided by the principles of it. Some of those who should know better frequently engage in felon setting and accuse us of having no mandate and no political philosophy. If people like Peadar O'Donnell, Frank Ryan and George Gilmore and others who were involved in the Republican Congress were able to continue the struggle, then it's imperative that we do likewise. During the 1930s, Ireland had suffered massive economic problems which were mirrored throughout Europe. This in turn gave rise to fascism and attacks on socialists and Democrats. These fascists were supported by the extremists in society led by the Catholic Church. In our own country, former IRA volunteers led by De Valera's party Fianna Fáil imprisoned and harassed their former comrades, and this allowed reactionary forces to flourish. Why didn't Republicans just accept the status quo and roll in behind Fianna Fáil? Why did a large number of them defy the conservative elements in the IRA and go and fight in Spain? Because like us here today, they believe that the only way in which to challenge these fascists was through resistance. The Spanish Civil War was one of the most defining moments of the 20th century. And without the sacrifice of internationalists like Charlie Donnelly, Jim Strachan, Bob Hilliard, where would we be? There's actually a monument here which we unveiled the 70th anniversary of the rising in this particular plot. These men had no desire to die, but they made a conscious decision to go and fight in a foreign country for a cause that they had a lot in common with. Although they knew change was needed in their own country, they believed that greater evil was to be fought in Spain. Since partition, both states have been determined in their pursuit to defeat republicanism, none more so than De Valera's government. He executed volunteers and allowed others to die on hunger strike, one of which, Sean McCaughey, is buried in this very graveyard. Like others before them, men and women continue to fight in pursuit for a republic. Today, the route in which we took from the gates of this plot was for a long time, in the 1940s and 50s, was the same route our parents, grandparents and their comrades took. This was to change dramatically in the 1960s when there was a revival in Republican politics inspired by the ideals of the 1916 Rising. Thousands took to the streets in celebration of the 50th anniversary, and here in the north, this greatly concerned the Unionists. What do they do? What they have always done, set up our death squads, and we know that what they've done in the 1960s leading up to the pogroms. Ordinary working class Protestants had nothing to fear, but goaded on by bigots like Paisley, they swelled the ranks of the loyalism and initiated pogroms. The civil rights movement campaigned for an end to gerrymandering and discrimination. Unionists saw this as another Republican conspiracy and reacted violently to peaceful marches and demonstrations. The state forces led by the RUC attacked the Bogside and Derry. This was quickly followed by attacks here in Belfast, when thousands of people were burnt out of their homes on the Falls Road, Bombay Street and Ardoyne. Along with loyalist mobs, the RUC also shot and killed a number of people. Only for the brave actions of a small number of IRA volunteers, more homes would have been burnt and more people would have been killed. Republicans in the 6 counties were determined not to let this happen again, and so more weapons were brought in. The IRA started recruiting and very soon became a formidable guerrilla army. Once again, both states reacted with violence by bringing in repressive laws, which led to internment in 1871, the special courts in the Free State, and diplomat courts here in the north. Despite these draconian measures, Republicans continued to resist. Neither the Bloody Sunday in Derry, the use of plastic bullets, shoot to kill, and the use of loyalist pseudo-gangs to attack Republicans nationalists in the hope that it would break the will of the people to support armed struggle. I have spoken of pivotal moments in Irish history, but the events of 1981 will be spoken of in years to come. For generations, Republicans have been imprisoned throughout this country and in foreign prisons, and whilst in jail they have gone on protest, either by refusing to work or by refusing to wear a prison uniform. In September 1917, Thomas House died in hunger strike in the Manor Hospital in Dublin after being force-fed, and in every conflict since then, others have died on hunger strike. On March 1st, 1981, Bobby Sands started another strike, and after 66 days he died. He is buried in the new plot to my right, along with his fellow comrades and hunger strikers, Joe MacDonald and Kieran Dougherty. The other 7 men who died are buried in graveyards in counties Tyrone, Armagh and Derry.